Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Thursday edition of the program. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to carry. It's Thursday. You know that what that means? That means we're going to have our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, talking college football, SEC football. Second portion of the program will be joined by former Gator wide receiver and Olympian, John Capel. Just talk a little bit about his career running in the Olympics and things of that nature. So if you got any questions for John Capel, shoot them to us on the Titan MR text line or send them to us on the Facebook Live comment section. But let's go ahead and head to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Brent Beaird. You can follow Brent on Twitter at Brent Beaird. Good morning, Brent. How are you, bud?
Just a wonderful reminder to our listeners and viewers that a week from today, we will be previewing games. That's a wonderful thing to be able to say, isn't it, Shane? So, and we're talking about week 0 games, Nebraska and Illinois, and Hawaii at UCLA, which is significant because the following week, UCLA plays LSU. I guess you could call that the alphabet game. But that's going to be very interesting. And UTEP at New Mexico State, UConn at Fresno State. Now, once the season begins, we may not pay attention to a lot of those games, but because we haven't seen any ball in quite a while, we'll all be tuned in, won't we, Shane?
Absolutely. So correct me if I'm wrong. The Illinois-Nebraska game that you mentioned, is that next Thursday, Friday, or Saturday?
No, it's on Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Now the great thing is the following week, if I remember this right, I believe UAB actually starts playing not Thursday, but like Wednesday. Mm. So if that is the case, we will have games on Labor Day week on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Wow. How wonderful is that?
That is great. And, you know, the more I think about it, having you said that, and it happens later in the year when they have the MAC games on Tuesday nights. Yeah. They should make all those group of fives and smaller schools play on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That way they get more exposure, and us college football fans will be able to watch ball all week long.
Well, see, I agree with that totally. And because they need all the publicity they can get. And look, this is why I'm not saying it's going to happen, but this is why that some people have brought up the possibility of the non-Power 5 teams actually playing in the spring and having their own playoffs one day. Now, is that going to happen overnight? No. Could it happen 5 to 10 years from now? Maybe, but your point's a good one, is those teams need to play on nights where people will watch them instead of getting lost in the Saturday games.
Yeah. Speaking of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, kind of some issues going on out there with Scott Frost and his staff.
Well, unfortunately, on Wednesday, it was learned that Nebraska's program is under NCAA investigation for what they call the improper use of analysts and consultants during practice and games. The school actually has video footage of violations that took place in the presence of Scott Frost and other assistants. Now, look, this is not something that's going to shut down the program in the way the NCAA is. We may be talking about this 3 years from now when they're still investigating it, is the problem. But still, I mean, it just looks bad. And Nebraska really didn't need this. And we've got a situation here with Scott Frost, who in 3 years in Nebraska is 12-20. That's a wonderfully passionate fan base, and they're infinitely patient. But Shane, my question is, if they have another rough year, that seat's going to get hotter for Scott.
It really is. I'm trying to think back. Gosh, did they fire Frank Solich, or did they just kind of ask him to leave nicely? Even though he was winning games, I think they would be happy to have Frank Solich back now, wouldn't they?
There's no question about that. Solich ended up being one of the better coaches that they have had, and he did a tremendous job at Ohio, but there's no doubt. And look, Solich is one of these guys. He just really wasn't very exciting. He was matter of fact, rarely raised his voice. I mean, Tom Osborne was the same way, frankly. Yeah. But both those guys, look, I don't care, Shane. They won, and that's all that matters.
That's right. Brent, I believe all the polls have come out now. Are we waiting on any other polls to come out?
No, this is basically it. The AP poll came out a few days ago, and the AP poll and the coaches poll is basically what we thought it would be, frankly, when the magazines came out in May. So there are no real great surprises here. I mean, Bama, Oklahoma, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas A&M, that's your top six. And that's kind of what we've been dealing with all year, hasn't it, Shane?
Yeah, it's the same people at the top up there, no question. I saw a note in your notes that kind of surprised me, saying it was talking about winning the national title, that the number one preseason AP teams have failed to win the national title 15 of the last 17 years. That surprised me.
It is. So just because you get predicted to be number one early on, doesn't mean you're going to win it. Since 2004, every national champion was ranked among the AP preseason polls top 7, except for Auburn in 2010. And interestingly, FSU in 2013, they started at 11. Auburn actually started at 22 during that 2010 campaign, which is interesting. So, I mean, look, there's always a chance that you really need to. Auburn may be the exception there, but someone did some research into this a few years ago and found out. I mean, this is pretty logical, that really in order to have a chance to win a national championship, you need to be ranked in, say, the top 15. And if you do that, you'll have enough time to work your way up the ladder.
Yeah, you really will. We're speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR Hotline. Turn your car or truck into a rolling billboard for your business or brand with an eye-catching vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. This August, mention promo code Shane, receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Dan says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mental Law, if Coach Mullen got punished by the NCAA, how can Frost not get something? And I'm sure he will. We'll wait and see what happens there. The best football program in America, according to Clark Lee at Vanderbilt, Brent, the only team to never be ranked in the preseason polls in the history of the polls, right?
That's really amazing when you think about that. Yes, Vanderbilt, the only current Power 5 team never to be ranked in the preseason poll. 2 teams have been ranked only once in the preseason. That was Rutgers and Wake Forest. And I give the Bear from ESPN's Game Day credit for that. But you're right about that. Clark Lee was going on and on during SEC Media Days about Vanderbilt's great tradition. I'm sure a lot of SEC fans were probably snickering about that. Hopefully he'll be able to turn things around a little bit. But that's something next to your name you don't want.
Yeah, Trey's got a question here, Brent. I think I know the answer. Maybe you do. He wants to know, is Texas and Florida still playing their home and home in a few years? I think the future schedules are kind of out the window now, don't you think?
That's a really interesting question. Is will they keep those? Will they keep those games as into the schedule maker and just make them conference games? Again, we don't know when the two teams are joining. Still think it's going to be either next year or in 2023. But if you're the schedule maker, do you just scrap all that's happened, or do you use it to your advantage, and that will be less work for you to do? So, frankly, we don't have any official word on how the SEC schedule maker will deal with that.
Speaking of the SEC, this is the seventh year of the launch of the SEC network. It's hard to believe it's been that long. And I want to say, didn't they launch it like the night of a Thursday night game that Coach Spurrier coached at South Carolina?
Yeah, I remember that. As a matter of fact, that was the first game that they had. The network actually started on August the 14th.
That's right.
But that Thursday night game in South Carolina was the first one. You're right. I remember that well. And the amazing thing is, Shane, can you believe it's been 7 years?
Yeah, it's hard,
that's a
hard
thing
to
that
believe.
It really is. But we wanted to call attention to that. With the network, I mean, there's still. I think I wish they had more live programming during the day, instead of the SEC Now loop that just kind of goes on forever. So to me, the Big Ten is a little bit more creative sometimes than the SEC on their network, but it'll be very interesting to see what the league does.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, I know you want to give a shout out. Y'all lost one of your good friends in the business this past week over in Palatka.
Andy Hall was the long time, 3 decades worth, Shane, the sports editor for the Palatka Daily News. Unfortunately, Andy died this week at 66. Andy was also not only at high school games, walking up down the sideline, but I saw Andy many times in the Gator press box. So Palatka covered Gator games. So our prayers go out to his brother Nick and his family. So thank you for that, Shane. Just a real great guy, and unfortunately a real loss for the sports world here locally.
Yeah. All right. Back to the SEC. We'll start with Alabama. Any news and notes? Any injuries that may have hurt the Tide up there?
Yeah, Kendall Randolph, one of the offensive linemen, has a sprained ankle after practice and scrimmage on last weekend. DeMarco Helms, a defensive back, has a sprained ankle too. So they need to get those guys healthy during the scrimmage. Trey Sanders, who has been hurt a couple of times in consecutive years at running back, has really looked good. He had a very serious car accident last year in his back, playing much better. The defense has been showing out. Will Anderson, Chris Allen, a couple outside linebackers are two of the best in the league. Cameron Lato at tight end has been a real weapon during this time. Paul Tyson, the backup quarterback, who's related to Coach Paul Bear Bryant, had a touchdown pass. He's trying to get the number 2 job there too. Also, they've had a couple of younger guys, quarterback Jaquaz Robinson and Jalen Milroe, who is a quarterback who's looked good. Teron Arnold has looked good too. And Bama actually had a guy that decommitted, Levon Moss, who's a 4-star running back for 2022 class. I believe he's from Baton Rouge. He is decommitted. He still could commit to Alabama, but the Tide will have another scrimmage coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I saw in your notes too, and I saw it, I think on Twitter, Coach Saban's quote when somebody asked him about, told him that Oregon has 100 different uniform combinations. He said, quote, "We have 2." red jerseys at home, white jerseys away. Our main concern around here is who's wearing them. I thought that was hilarious because he's a funny guy in his own way.
He is.
But I wanted to reach out to Coach Saban and say, your jerseys ain't red; they're crimson, Coach, not red.
Right. That's true. But that was certainly a great one-liner. And again, we got to remember everything he does is centered around recruiting. So that is a trying to build his recruits up one way or another.
Yeah. Down in Auburn, maybe a quarterback battle going on, huh?
Well, I think T.J. Finley from LSU, the transfer, is pushing Bo Nix a little bit. And look, Bo needs it. He made a couple bad throws in the most recent scrimmage. Auburn has a scrimmage tomorrow, by the way. And again, Bo's made some improvement, but Bo is still Bo in some ways. T.J. Finley played well against the number 2 defense. They've got a redshirt freshman quarterback, Demetrius Davis, who has been very good, that they like. Now, this is important if you're an Auburn fan. This is something different Brian Harsin is doing than Gus Malzahn never did. They are playing, and Shane can explain this better than most, the number 1 offense is going against the number 1 defense often in practice and often in scrimmage. Now, Gus did not do that. And a lot of coaches are really big on this, that it gives best on best. And I get it, frankly, and how important that is. But Shane, if we're looking for maybe the main difference between Malzahn and Harsin, that is it.
Yeah, a lot of coaches, when they do their scrimmages or a lot of practices, it's usually 1s against the 2s and vice versa. And a lot of time that's just to build confidence because your starting offense should be better than your backup defense. But then also a lot of times in practice, they may have one little small period where 1s go against 1s, and then you try to figure out, who had the better day, the defense or the offense. And then sometimes whoever had the best day may not have to run sprints or things of that nature. But it's probably something good for a first-year coach coming into a program that hasn't had a lot of success lately and trying to set the tone. So it'll be interesting to see, Auburn's kind of laying in the weeds and nobody's talking about them. I don't know how good they're going to be this year, but college football needs Auburn to be decent. The Gators have had a scrimmage. A lot of good things came out of that.
Yeah, they sure did. I think a couple of guys who've gotten some attention so far, and their true freshman, Marcus Burke, who is 6'4", 187. That's great size. You can see some mismatches there. And I may mispronounce this, but Nick Elkness, who is a tight end, 6'6", 243. It's amazing how big tight ends have gotten over the years. Mm-hmm. He has really played well, frankly, since spring. So they're very excited about him. Anthony Richardson, I think, is playing well. And we're not saying he's going to take the job over Emory Jones. It's just the fact that he's playing well. And look, in the SEC, man, you need two quarterbacks. They've talked about some of the wide receivers, Jacob Copeland, Rick Wells, Trent Whittemore. Hopefully those guys are improving. Also need to mention a couple of additions to the roster. Gator fans are aware of probably by now. Tyreek Sapp from Fort Lauderdale, he's a defensive lineman. And Texas A&M transfer cornerback Elijah Blades, who has a lot of experience. This guy's really good. Now, he had to go through the clearinghouse with the NCAA with his final transcript, so it took him a little bit to get on the team. That's just academic stuff that you have to deal with. But Blades is well thought of, and he should really be able to help the secondary. Kingsley Egacon is a redshirt freshman who is really vying for that starting center position and may really be in the running for this right now. And I'm just going to throw out some names here real quick for recruiting. 5-star guys that Florida is in on. We'll get into this more later. Walter Nolan, who everybody loves, maybe the best player in the nation, Julian Ormello, Jaham Singletary, Luther Burton, Evan Stewart. Just keep some of his names in mind. Florida got a verbal David Connor, who's an offensive tackle. Broward County is coming aboard. 6'6", 285, so some pretty good base there with him. Maryland, Arizona, Syracuse in that mix. So, yes, a batch of good news for Gator fans.
Yep, and they'll be cranking it up against FAU here pretty soon. All right, Georgia. They open up with Clemson here in a couple of weeks, one of the most anticipated season openers in college football history. Boy, the Dogs got a lot of people hurt.
Listen, the list continues, unfortunately, right now. And the latest with this list, Darnell Washington, who is 6'7", 265, has an undisclosed injury. We think it's foot or ankle. And Tyke Smith, who I thought was one of the biggest pickups that they've had this year from West Virginia, both those guys have gotten some kind of foot and ankle. Now, what we don't know is, because there are conflicting reports, and we're going to put it that way, is how long these guys are going to be out. Kirby says they're day-to-day. Kirby Smart, the head coach. Other reports have said they're out for an extended period of time, which you don't want to hear if you're playing Clemson to begin the year. That's the difficulty that you get when you're playing a really tough team. The other problem right now for Georgia, and this will not surprise people, is Eric Gilbert, the incredibly talented tight end, is right now not on the team. Not sure what's going on. He had trouble at LSU. He originally transferred to Florida. He backed out before ever enrolling, switched to Georgia. So, I mean, at this point, Shane, the best thing we can say about Eric Gilbert is that he gets his life together and that he is able to play somewhere. So if you're a Georgia fan listening, I mean, they're going to be okay. Georgia's got really great talent. There's no doubt about that. But boy, oh boy, Shane, right now, you don't want to have this litany of injuries, do you?
No, not at all. It's a mess for them. And, you know, you would like, I mean, I guess if you're a Gator fan, you like to see a lot of their good players injured or whatever. I mean, you hate to see that for Eric Gilbert, obviously. Hopefully he gets everything squared away. But for college football fans, you would love to see both Clemson and Georgia go in there
Yes.
100%. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back that won't go away, you need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today, 352-400-4550. Speaking with Brent Beaird here on the Titan MR hotline. We'll be joined by John Capel here momentarily. All right, the saga of Joey Gatewood. We actually have a text here on the Titan MR text line. Let me pull that up for you, and it's regarding Joey Gatewood, I believe, Brent. It comes from Daryl. He wants to know, Brent, where do you think Joey Gatewood ends up now?
Okay, the latest on Gatewood, and this came out yesterday, was him going back to Gus Malzahn at UCF. So what we will see, now obviously he's from Jacksonville. That would put him close to home. My question about this is, him going back to Gus Malzahn, who never really developed him in the first place.
Right.
So is that really what you want to do? Hopefully he will develop his arm strength and be a better player. Now, what happened here is Liam Cohen is the new offensive coordinator at Kentucky. He came in and almost immediately made a decision to go with Will Levis, who is a transfer from Penn State. Now, Bo Allen is still in that mix at Tennessee, at Kentucky too, but Levis is going to be the starting quarterback. Now, what's also interesting here, if you remember Terry Wilson, the former Kentucky quarterback, has ended up at New Mexico. Now, Shane, this is amazing to me. Terry Wilson at Kentucky was 17-8. I mean, that's not bad. The only player in Kentucky history, 3,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing. So, hopefully he'll do well at New Mexico. But one thing's for sure, and you've alluded to this, Kentucky has needed to settle down at quarterback for quite a while, and maybe this will happen now.
Yeah, we'll see. We got a quick Facebook Live brought to you by Metal Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Keith says, Brent, did the Georgia receiver recover from his broken ankle? And I think he's referring to the kid that got hurt against Florida.
Matter of fact, he did. That is Marcus Rosemead Jacksaint, and he really just was cleared last week in order to play. Now the other situation you've got with Georgia receivers would be you still got some guys. George Pinkins will not play until maybe November. And Dominique Blaylock is another guy that got hurt with a knee injury, and he's coming along, and he should be able to play hopefully by the time they play the opener. So, look, I'm being honest with you, it is a struggle just keeping up with these Georgia receiver injuries.
It really is. Brent, looking at the team that I think is going to win the SEC, believe it or not, anything interesting out with the boys in College Station?
I thought for a second there you were going to say LSU.
No, not LSU.
Yeah. Now one thing that is we mentioned this the other day. Look, they've still got to find a quarterback, and if they do that, they've got everything else. Weidemeyer, tight end, Anaya Smith, Isaiah Spiller, one of the best offensive linemen in the league. Their defensive line is SEC quality now, but they play Colorado early. J.T. Shrout, who transferred from Tennessee, is unfortunately hurt his knee, and he won't be able to play for them for a while. That's very unfortunate. So they're still trying to figure out who their quarterback is going to be at Colorado. Brandon Lewis, I believe, may end up being the guy at this point. But look, there is a lot of love for A&M. And I do want to get one more quarterback thing here. And I sure hope he plays because he's maybe the best player they've got besides Kevin Harris at running back. But Luke Doty, the quarterback at South Carolina, is questionable for that opener against Eastern Illinois because he hurt his foot the other day. And the other thing that hurt them is they had a freshman defensive back from Kansas who is no longer on the team. And I know he's from Kansas, and that's a struggling program, but he was going to be really pretty good for them. So hopefully Doty will be ready by the opener.
Yeah. Give us some nuggets before we let you go, Brent.
LSU running back Tyrone Davis-Price is back at practice, so that is good. Missouri, Marion Gooch, the offensive lineman, he's a freshman. He has been medically disqualified to play. They've got a running back named Tyler Batty who's put on about 23 pounds, so they think he is going to be good. And I'll end up with a couple other notes outside the SEC, and that would be, for anyone interested, Lee Corso, who has had some health problems, is actually going to be back on the set this year for College Game Day. So, and by the way, Michigan has named a quarterback, Cade McNamara, over their freshman J.J. McCarth here too. And at Northwestern, former Clemson quarterback Hunter Johnson is starting over former South Carolina quarterback Ryan Helinski.
Wow.
Did you keep up with all that?
Yeah, well, that's crazy. College football is crazy these days. Well, Brent, be safe. Hunker down. Next week will be fun. We'll be talking real football, real games starting.
Week 0 games next week. Can't wait.
Yeah, that's Brent Beaird, our college football analyst. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Going to take our first time out of the program, come back. We'll be joined by former Gator wide receiver and Olympic athlete John Capel. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
Are you tired of being sidelined by nagging pain? Hi, I'm Emmett Smith, Hall of Famer and Dance with the Stars champion. Happy to tell you about QC Kinetics and their biologic therapies for treating pain without drugs or surgery.
Are you suffering from chronic pain in your hips, knees, shoulder, or lower back? Are you tired of living with arthritis pain? QC Kinetics offers natural pain treatment that can repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints.
Listen, I know pain, and I've seen firsthand how powerful biologic therapies can be. Patients at QC Kinetics rave about their result because they're getting their lives back. They're getting moving again.
These exciting regenerative treatments used to be available only to pro athletes like Emmett. Now they're available to anyone thanks to QC Kinetics. Call today for your free consultation.
Get long-lasting results from my friends at QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. In North Central Florida, call 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free.
South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Carter Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Bass Pro Shops, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, International Diamond Center, and the HBC's new restaurant, Gainesville's hottest new restaurant. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to go to the Titan MRI hotline. We're going to be joined by former Gator wide receiver and Olympiad. And he's coming to us live from his class at Hernando High, John Capel. Good morning, John. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How y'all doing? And go Gators.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. I didn't realize you were still going to be in your class. Hopefully all your students there, they're doing their classwork and not listening to you on the podcast. So first of all, I got to ask you this. When I just say John Capel, it's hard because I want to call you John. So
absolutely.
Were you called John when you were younger, or is that something Coach Spurrier called you?
Coach Spurrier, when he came down to visit and when he came down to recruit me, my dad called me that, and he asked me if it was okay if he called me that, and it never changed from then. Everything was John. After the visit, it was John from then on.
Yeah, I figured that was a Coach Spurrier thing, no question. All right, so let's go back to your younger days. You were a track star coming out of high school, one of the fastest human beings in America, obviously you're a tremendous football player. Did you grow up a Gator fan, or what made you want to be a Gator, and what other schools did you think about going to?
Well, I was always a Gator. From the first time I picked up a football, I've always been a Gator fan. Now, I did think about going to Florida State, and the reason being because Coach Bowden came to visit to recruit me out of high school, and him and my dad, they talked for hours, and they forgot about me, and they just started talking about the Bible. And because my dad was a pastor, and Coach Bowden was a huge guy in the church, my dad was like, if you don't go to Florida, you have to go to Florida State. So the only other option I would have if I didn't choose Florida was Florida State, because Bobby Bowden was a really classy guy. So but other than that, I was always going to be in that orange and blue.
Yeah,
always.
So who was the coach on Coach Spurrier's staff that recruited your area when you signed?
Coach Dixon.
Okay.
Coach Dixon was down in my area a lot, and then the first coach I ever met at Florida was Coach Stevens.
Jimmy Ray.
Let
me ask you this.
Coach.
Yeah, Jimmy Ray Stevens. Let me ask you this, because I want to say you were more of a running back in high school, and you got a bunch of carries at Florida, but you also, I guess you were technically a receiver. Obviously, you were a return guy. Did they say that, we're going to try to utilize your speed and move you to wide receiver once you came to Florida?
When I first came to Florida, I was a defensive back.
Oh, wow.
Coach Spurrier it was the first couple of days of the first day we got on campus. I was with the defensive back, and then Coach Spurrier had a meeting with me, and then he changed me over to the offensive side of the ball. Like he felt like he could probably use my speed on our offense, so then he changed me over to the offense.
Yeah.
But at first, I was actually with Coach Stoops.
We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line from Jerry. Jerry wants to know, John, how difficult was it when you were at Florida to play two different sports?
Looking at it now, being a two-sport athlete and being pretty good at both, it was only hard with the keeping the schoolwork and stuff together, because with track and field you always travel, and with football we have more time at home at the stadium, at the school. But it was a difficult task to do them both and being elite at them both. It was tough, and I at that level, I think you should probably try to choose one and stick with it. If you're a really good football player and that's what your love is, stay with football. And if you love track and field, stay with track and field. Don't try to do them both, especially not at that level. It's just tough. It's really tough.
Yeah, we're speaking with John Capel here on the Titan War Hotline, former Florida wide receiver / running back, also ran in the Olympics. Would you say the out of the two sport athletes that have been through the University of Florida, and I don't know how closely you have followed it, but obviously another guy that played a lot of football for Urban Meyer had Olympic speed, Jeff Demps. Who would you say would be faster if y'all raced? You or Demps? Not talking about now. I'm talking about like in your heyday.
Me, absolutely me, absolutely. Demps, I think he got under 10 seconds once or twice, but I think I would have dipped under I think if I hadn't had a little hiccup in my career, I think I would have got into the 970 or low 980 range. Like I was headed there. If I would have stayed with Coach Holloway, I think I was headed to the 970, 980 range. Like it was there. I ran those times all the time in practice. So I would have definitely dipped into that 974, 975 range at by the time I got to 2001, 2002 in that area.
When you look back at your Gator football career, is there one game that stands out in your mind that you always will remember?
Wow. Dokes playing Florida State, because I always hated them. And I always, in my bones, wanted to beat Florida State. With everything in me, I wanted to beat Florida State, because most of my family are Seminoles. And because I came to Florida, I always had to deal with them every year about playing for the Gators and not being a Seminole. So when we go up to Florida State and we had Janikowski being the kicker, and Coach Spurrier would say, now, he's going to try to kick it in the back of the end zone. If he kicks it too deep, don't bring it out. And I think, I don't know if Coach Spurrier got mad at me every single time, but every time he kicked it back there, I brought it out. I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to try to return this football in dope. I wanted so bad to return the kickoff against Florida State that it didn't matter if he kicked it 10 yards deep. I was going to grab it and try to come out of the end zone, because I just wanted to beat Florida State that bad. And to this day, I'm not glad that they're down, but I'm glad that we kicking their butt every year. So go Gators, keep giving it to them.
Hey, Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We're speaking with John Capel here on the Titan MR Hotline. He's coming to us live from his classroom at Hernando High School. He coaches and teaches down there. Okay, I want to talk about track. Okay, I played three sports in high school: football, baseball, and basketball. I never understood. I mean, obviously, I wasn't fast, so that's probably one reason. But just track practice just looks awful to me. I mean, because you just run. How difficult and how much did you have to train for the Olympics?
Well, I think to me, football to me was probably harder for me because I wanted to be so good at it. Track and field to me, it was just something I was just born with a gift to be able to run. I I can't say I didn't. I think I could have worked harder because Coach Holloway would say I worked as hard as anybody. But I think training for the Olympic Games was more fun than anything, um, because you get to compete against the best on the planet, and to go out and be able to possibly outrun everybody on the earth or everybody that's representing every country. To train for that is just, there's no feeling like it. And then once you get a chance to get on that stage, there's no emotion like it. And it is like right now, I get goosebumps just thinking about how much fun I had running repeat 300s and repeat 200s, getting ready for like the trials of the Olympic Games. It's nothing like it. I mean, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would. It was a great time in my life. Great.
Now, your two main events were the 100 and the 200, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which did you like the best?
I was specialized at the 200 because I was able to make a mistake and then make up for the mistake. I never had a really good start. And until I understood that it wasn't about how good you start, it's about just making sure you stay in your pattern throughout the race. I always tried to stick with the 200 because I had enough speed to run everybody down. The weightlifting coaches at the University of Florida was awesome because they had me so strong that I could run anybody down, but I just wasn't able to come out of the blocks because I wasn't really technically sound out of the blocks. So I love the 200 way more so than I did the 100. Way more.
Let me ask you this about track and field. Let me ask you this about track and field, John. I was watching the Olympics, and when a guy had a false start, you basically know you're disqualified. Walk to the tunnel. Back in the day, right, I felt like you got more than one false start. Was that the case or no?
Not internationally. Okay. In the United States, they would give you a false start, but internationally, it's just one and done. Especially on that stage, because it's at the Olympic Games. You get one false start and you're kicked out. But in the United States, and I think they should make sure they do that in the United States, where it's just one and done, like every other place does, because it'll make sure our guys are equipped more when they go to international.
Yeah, I mean, I feel horrible when that happens because these guys train for years and years and years to get that opportunity in the Olympics, and then you don't. I mean, that's just part of the game. But good gracious, that's rough. I'd make sure I didn't false start.
It's heartbreaking sometimes.
So when you look back at your football and track career, obviously you got drafted by the Chicago Bears. You played a little bit. But then you focused on being a professional runner. I mean, when it's all said and done, guys can make a pretty good living running track internationally, right?
Yes, very well. You can do very well. But you got to be in the top. You got to be in the top 5 or 10. After you get past those top 10 guys, it's just kind of like a basic job. If you're not in that top 10 where like people are going to pay money to come see you, then it's not that lucrative. You got to be one of the main guys on the stage to make a pretty good living off the track and field. It's not like
Dan on Facebook Live, brought to you by Metal Loss, kind of got an industry question comment here because we've always talked on my shows, John, about facilities, especially in football. The Florida's building a football facility now, but he says comparing in the SEC with all the success that Florida has in track, they don't have, comparing SEC with all the success Florida doesn't have better facilities in track and field. Track and field has kind of, with the SEC network, schools have put more money into their facilities. But I agree with what Dan's saying, that the track that our kids perform in, which you only have one meet, I think, on campus, is not compared to some of the others in the SEC. Is that a true statement?
Well, the track that Coach Holloway has down there is phenomenal. That that track compared to any track, I think that track is comparable to any other track. Now, I would think that we would have a bigger stadium, maybe a full facility for track and field, but I do think that our track is bar none one of the best in the country. Um, there's nothing. I think Coach Holloway has done a great job with how he's building out the facilities, making it up to date, and with the UAC and all the expansions and stuff like that. And it can always be better, but for what we're doing right now and how good our athletes are doing, I think that the facilities that we have are awesome because they were not like this when I was there. So 20 years ago, I mean, if you think our facilities are not up to date now, imagine what they were 20 years ago.
Right.
So I think they look amazing. I go up to the University of Florida and I'm just like, what are they gonna do next? Like, how can it get any better? Like, how can it get more up to date? I think it looks amazing. I think the coaching staff and the people that are putting things together, I think they're doing a great job.
When you talk about the track, that brings up an interesting point. Were there certain venues around the U.S. or in the internationally that you just said, man, this is a track that fits my style. It feels so good. I run a great time on this track year in and year out. Was there a place in the country and internationally that was like that for you?
Sacramento, California. At the Olympic trials, that I think that track was just perfect for everything I wanted to do. It was not too hard. It was not too soft. The climate was perfect. The fans were crazy, and I think Sacramento is I like Eugene. It's okay, but a little bit cold for me. But I think Sacramento, California, was like the best place to ever have an Olympic trials. Like I don't think it could be a better place to have it than that spot. I loved it. I loved it in Sacramento. It was great.
So I got to ask you this: you're coaching and teaching high school. You're coaching football. Obviously, you got to be the track coach.
Absolutely.
Do you actually run with your athletes and blow them away still at your age?
No. I was out at football practice about a month ago, and I gave a kid a 20-yard head start. And sometimes you get your head big and you think you can still run like you used to. And I gave a kid a 20-yard head start. I did not gain 1 yard on him. Like, I did not get anywhere near him. He blew me out, and at that point I knew I had to still go out and start doing some sit-ups and push-ups and start training again because I don't like to lose. I really don't like to lose. I don't care how old I am. I don't like to lose. So in about another month or two, I want my race back. So Ursel Waddy, if you get a chance to listen to this, I want my race back. I got to get them back. I don't like losing. Whether it's a 20-yard head start or a 10-yard head start, I don't like losing. So I got to race them again.
That's awesome. Jeff says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Medal Law, you took 2 gold medals at the 2003 World Championships in Paris, including the 200 meters. What you got? Where are your gold medals?
In a safe at the house. My wife keeps them under lock and key. She don't let me touch them very much. She'll let me look at them probably like once a year and reminisce over like old times, but she keeps them under lock and key because we want to make sure that if anything ever happens, that she knows where they are. Because if she lets me hold them, she'll know that I'll be bringing them and wearing them to school and stuff like that. So she won't give them to me.
That's awesome. And I know, athletes, they have their jerseys, whatever sport they play. You still got to have your tracksuit from the Olympics, right?
Oh, absolutely. I got my tracksuit. So I got a bunch of my stuff from the Olympic Games, and I also have my football jerseys from Florida too. Like it's like a nice little University of Florida shrine at my house. It's great. It's great.
That's awesome. Before we let you go, John, do you have a Coach Spurrier story you could tell us?
Let's see. I got a bunch of Coach Spurrier stories. Let's see. My favorite one is probably at the bowl game in Miami when we played against Syracuse, and he was trying to get all the freshmen and sophomores to start playing because we had the guys that were going to the pros and things like that. And I walked up to him and I was like, Coach Spurrier, since Travis Taylor and all these guys are going to the pros, I guess the young kids get to go out and play. And he was like, well, John, you've been playing all game. And I was like, yeah, but I want to go out and catch some passes. And he was like, well, I think the game's pretty much over. So you'll get a chance to catch some passes next year. And and when he walked away from me, like I felt like the coach just kind of like shushed me off and just said, your time will come next year. And after that, I knew Coach Spurrier was letting me know, like, I want to make sure I keep you around. I don't want nobody to see what you can do. We'll wait till next year to let you get on the field a little bit more.
Yeah,
I like Coach. I miss Coach Spurrier.
Yeah, well, you can check him out here in Gainesville. He's running around town at his new restaurant, all that good stuff. I'm sure he'd love to see you, my man. But we appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy, but the Gator Nation wanted to catch up with John Capel. Be safe, my man, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, and go Gators, man. Y'all take it easy.
All right, that's John Capel. Join us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. Going to take our final time out of the program. We come back, we'll wrap it up.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, won't back down. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free.
South State Bank, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course,
Silverback Concrete Company.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp's now hiring team members with all levels of experience, great culture and benefits, and opportunity for growth. $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Give Comfort Temp a call, 352-376-2366. This day in sports, in 2001, David Toms wins his first major title by one stroke over Phil Mickelson, and that was the PGA Championship at the Atlantic Athletic Club. Golf's cranking up today. The playoffs start today. Should be some good golf as well. Don't forget, at Center State Bank, they now are South State Bank, but they still put business first. They understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. Make sure you tell all your friends and family to follow us and like us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those podcast platforms. We want to thank our college football analyst, Brent Beaird, for joining us. He always has tremendous information. You can check Brent out on Twitter at Brent Beaird. And, of course, John Capel, the old Olympic sprinter and Gator football player under Steve Spurrier, for joining us from his classroom. He was all masked up down there at Hernando High School. We appreciate him taking his time to join us. Been trying to get him on for quite some time. I mean, think about that. Guy played football at Florida and ran for the United States Olympic team. That's pretty cool. Today's show's a wrap. Be safe out there, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.